We are live, making some final adjustments here on our seating arrangements here in the living room. What's happening, team? Hey, guys, we are live now on YouTube, looks like. And welcome to Your Story Friday Live. We're excited to be here Friday afternoon at 6:30. And we are doing a topic that we're kind of excited about. It's been a theme for this week. So if we get 1, 2, 7 people, we'll be excited to have everybody. We changed the scenery up a little bit. Usually we're upstairs in what we call the redneck version of Digital Lab, but we decided that it'd be fun to meet in the living room with a ring light, a cat. The computer is on a stool right now, and the two of us had a lot of fun doing it last week together. So now we're going to do probably most of these together. Corey has some ideas for some that she's going to run on her own. Last week we talked about facing your trauma, which was a lot of fun. We covered a lot of topics, and we got a lot of feedback through the comments section, so that was really cool. Corey and I are excited because tomorrow she and I are going to head out of town and we do this a lot. We take a lot of weekend trips. We're going to go to Alabama to, according to where we think it is, in Fort Payne, where they have a scenic trip, I guess. There's like a highway you can take that's near like a bunch of state parks and things like that. And we're going to go out there and film a video, change up the scenery again so that we can have something a little different to offer. So again, this week we posted a video that had to do with relationships in recovery, or dating in recovery. And just so you know, again, this is Tell Your Story, and part of what we talk about is addiction and life topics and all kinds of things that we think are necessary for you to design a different way of living. So dating in recovery, if I were to do a correct intro, I am an alcoholic, and
I am an alcoholic and an addict.
So we both come from an addiction background and met each other at a certain point in our own recovery. So, and it's important to talk about these things because a lot of the things that we go through, people go through on the daily. We know a lot of folks in addiction recovery because we speak to a lot of people that are doing this currently, going through this phase of life. And I always come in with like kind of you could say a script, but some notes, because I want to keep us on point here, because I have a tendency to bounce around because my brain is pretty ADD would be, I guess, the best way to put it. So what we got? We got our introduction, our addiction, recap, tomorrow the trip, and now the topic relationships in recovery. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was how Corey and I met, okay? Because it's prudent for us to talk about this because a lot of what we're going to say about relationships in recovery or in your addiction is going to be negative. But the way we met is what they tell you not to do. I'll probably let Corey tell you how we met. It was her fault, so we're going to let you talk about it. How did we meet?
So we met at a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to the same meetings, and I kind of had my eye on this guy. I mean, come on. So, I just kind of scoped him out for a while, but he was living in a, I guess, a sober living house.
Yeah.
And like rule number 1 is no girls. So I was like, man, I just gotta do this. So I sent him a message through Facebook Messenger and just kind of broke the ice. And, we just went from there with it. It was just, innocent messaging back and forth for a while.
I was living in a place where, I'd gone to a rehab for 90 days and decided to continue my education and sobriety at another place for living sober life. But they had a lot of rules. And one of them was that you don't see women while you're here. It was a 9-month program. And I got a message from a blonde, and we dipped our toes in conversations until we actually started meeting on the side.
Don't do that.
Do
not do that.
Yeah, not supposed
bad.
to do that. So but we did that. We did everything. We kind of did everything they told us not to do. And in the end ended up in a relationship. So I got kicked out of this place nevertheless because I stick my hand in the cookie jar and I needed more cookies. So Corey and I got together. What do you know? Now we live together. It's been over a year and we're in a relationship. So before we get all, Judas on you and, tell you everything that you shouldn't do, let us tell you that we did all the things you weren't supposed to do and we turned out okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we might be a little hypocritical in some of these because we are a team, but it's important that you know on what level you stand when it comes to relationship and addiction. So go ahead.
I was going to say, it's important to us, because we have seen so many people, jump into these relationships fresh in the recovery, and it's an epic failure. The biggest thing being, you jump in a relationship with somebody, you break up, your feelings are hurt, that's fine. But the scariest part is being in addiction or, being an alcoholic, the chance of relapse is just phenomenal. And, that's the scary part about it. And, so it's important for us to, share these experiences.
Yeah.
Just try to help.
If you are currently in addiction and you are currently or in recovery and you happen to be watching this video, let us know in the comment section. We love to hear from people an active conversation about what's going on in your life. If you think relationships are tough, if you weren't ready for one, if you dove right in, let us know. We'll give you a shout out and we'll talk about it here on the channel. So I wrote a couple of things that we've seen people doing in relationships while still in active recovery. Like these are folks that might still be in their addiction, actively, using drugs in whatever form that is, drinking alcohol, taking pills, using needles, whatever it is that you think you're doing. And then there are folks that, like us, there's Lana, if you can see her in the back right. We have a cat that might be jumping around on video. We see folks, let's see. Here, let's give a couple of examples here. And I'm going to throw out one. I might get in trouble for this. We saw some folks that got together in addiction, and within a couple weeks, they had tattooed the name of their significant other on the forearm with an insignia that happened to be his affiliation. Is that what you want to call it? So, and that's, I'm not going to say, terrible, but it's probably the worst choice you could have made. Fail. Okay. We've seen some folks go into relationships where one of the two is still using drugs. So now this person who is trying to build in sobriety is now dating someone who is using at the same time they're together. So that person becomes a leech. Then the other person doesn't understand why, but those are the dangers of getting into a relationship when you're trying to recover from a really bad allergy, which might be drugs or alcohol.
And the bad part about getting in a relationship with someone while you're sober and they're still using is, you stop focusing on your recovery and you start focusing on trying to fix that person, and you can't fix them. As heartbreaking as it is, you can't. The only person you can fix is yourself.
The danger is of a relapse. I took a couple down, making hasty decisions based on current emotions. The emotions that you have in the moment while using are not the same emotions you're going to have when you've got 6 months of sobriety. So if you're out there and you're having a drink or you're taking a pill, please don't ruin someone else's life by jumping in there. Wait till you've got some clarity in your brain before you jump into a relationship with somebody that you're utterly going to ignore on every facet, an emotional level, a physical level even. And then you're just taking them down the same rabbit hole that you jumped into. We just got, Kira said, happy to be here. Good to see you again, gal. All the way from Oregon. Man, we're just reaching across the states. That's pretty cool. I want to mention here, I took another note. Communication. That's one we're going to talk about too, because what I'm trying to do is segment here from listing all the bad things to I've got a list of a couple things that can help you veer away from making the bad decisions. If you've decided to jump into that relationship, that's great. That's wonderful. Go for it. Let's give you a couple of tips to maybe get around all the negative crap that you might endure in the future. I think we did pretty good. We did pretty well.
Yeah.
We haven't hit any roadblocks, but we've done a couple of things that have kept us from going backwards instead of moving straight forward. So again, I'm looking on my phone here with a couple of notes I got. All right. These are some conversations you need to have with your significant other. If you're going into a relationship and you're moving pretty quick, things are happening. If you're one of our friends who's decided to get married on a whim, well done with you. I hope that lasts. But we haven't done that. We have had a couple of conversations that have kept us in the positive. Now here's one for you. Separate sobrieties.
First and foremost.
And that's like the first thing we talked about when jumping in together after deciding to maybe a little hypocritical. We moved in together as soon as I got kicked out of the last house. So what do you think about separate sobriety? How are you keeping your sobriety separate?
We do end up going to, well, not now because everything's shut down, but we do go to meetings together. But like, I think whether we've never like purposely done it, but like as soon as we get to a meeting, we separate. And it's not like, oh, don't talk to me while we're there. It's just, I'm not there to focus on you. I'm there to focus on me and what I can get out of that meeting. I still make time to spend time with my sponsor.
Sweet.
Have time with my girlfriends that are also in recovery. Still actively working on me.
Sure.
Rather than us.
Sure. If your relationship at the moment has problems, if you're arguing, if you feel stress, negativity, the reflection of your relationship is a direct reflection of what you're doing in your sobriety. If you're not working on yourself, your spiritual conditioning, which for me just means going to meetings, being active and helping others, and living a life of more, of doing than of sitting still. If you're doing that, you're in a good spot, and your relationship will probably reflect that because the other person will feed off of that. I think when we do a lot of work, in sobriety, our relationship only blossoms in certain areas. And that leads me to the next thing here, money. All right. I've done a video on this. We have conversations about this, but like our sobriety right now, we're keeping our money separate. What's up, Jeff? How are you, man? See the light. Hope you're doing well. We've had a lot of conversations about money. Whether you or your significant other is making more can sometimes be turmoil. If you decide to go the route of a same checking account, bullshit. You probably should not do that. I'm just saying. I think money is like, it's money, religion, and those two things get really, really mixed up. I mean, if you're a Jew dating a Muslim, I mean, that can be pretty difficult, I'm sure. But we're both on the side of probably agnostic is where we both are. So that worked out. Money is completely different for the two of us. We don't have the same patterns of how to deal with our cash, what we do with them, what we buy, obviously, male, female. But those are conversations you need to have. I also wrote down your past. Okay. This is like a hit or miss for most people. When it comes to communication in a 12-step program, when you get a sponsor, you're sharing all of the bad stuff that's in here and in here so that you can have that weight lifted off of your shoulders. And I think one of the first things that we, really did together to, if you don't want to like really fuck up, share everything together. This is a judgment-free zone because the both of you have been through a lot. So you need somebody for emotional support, maybe for positivity moving forward. I don't want to be a leech in her life in any way, shape, or form, bringing back something from the past that just happens to hit us in the face. I want to know everything about this person because if you love somebody, you share and you communicate.
If you don't love that person, well, get out now before you get in too soon.
Don't hurt that person. For me, being able to share everything and, getting completely transparent about everything in my past, to me was such a big deal because it'll help you to understand, like if I have an insecurity about something or if I feel a little nervous about something, I'm like, hey, well, that stems from this. And that way you have that understanding of each other. If you're hiding things from your significant other, it's not going to work.
It's not gonna.
Because what's done in the dark always comes to the light.
Sure.
And if you're constantly trying to hide things and you feel like you can't be 100% transparent with your significant other, why are you in that relationship?
Sure. Hindsight is 20/20. If you haven't learned anything from the past, if you've had a bad relationship, or if you've dove in deep into being an alcoholic while with somebody, which I have, the communication will never be there, and you won't grow as a person and or a partner for somebody else. So communicate those issues.
I like
what did she say?
Kira said that's what I did in my relationship. I just laid everything out on the table at the beginning and said, love it or leave it. This is who I am. And it ended up working in my favor. That is exactly what we've done.
It's perfect. When we laid everything out on the table, the first conversation, believe it or not, so we were on the phone. I'm at work. And, I've basically just been given the 411 that I'm going to be kicked out of this place if I don't, follow their rules. And yes, I left the phone at work too, because apparently that's what you do when they take your phone from you, a 32-year-old man. And I'm on the phone with Corey, and I'm like, this is how our conversations went. It was like, well, I think that, maybe if I keep going through this program, we can let's take some time, and then maybe we can move in together or something like that. And I don't know, that's probably not verbatim, but basically Corey sent a text message back and said, well, I'm free tomorrow. We could move in tomorrow if you want. And I was like, okay. So I went back to that house. I grabbed my phone, and she came to the house and picked me up, and we moved in together. There were a lot of conversations that happened like really soon after that. Like it was going to be temporary. I was going to, we were going to just figure out some transportation. I had transportation from the job for a little while, and then we worked that out together. But that's really how quick that happened. So we needed to have some not ground rules per se, but we needed to make sure her saying, she told me, baby, you're cute, but you're not worth getting drunk over, and that makes sense. And that's how she sounds too. I don't know if you've heard that. Anyway, make sure you have that communication. Okay. So I took another note. Let's see. Where are you currently on an emotional level, spiritual, if that's part of it? Religion is always something you bring up, denomination, whatever you want to call it. Okay. If you're a sad person, look at old Shad Daddy, you know who you are. If you've got turmoil going up in here, as an addict, you might have running thoughts. We have that problem. If you're a negative Nancy, if you got things going on in your life, driven by alcohol, drugs, the law, which happens a lot, there's no need for you to bring someone else into that picture. Okay. We've got folks now that are, some of these guys have decided to get with a partner that is actively using drugs. What are you thinking? Those kinds of things are hasty. They're not helpful. They're not helpful to you, your family, or anyone else. I said this in another video. It's your vibe that attracts your tribe. And if you have heard that before, take a step back, look at what's going on here. Look at the past couple months and see what kind of decisions you've made. And that'll tell you if you're ready to get into a partnership with somebody that's cute. Just because somebody has got a great smile, blue eyes, blonde hair, does not mean you need to keep reaching into that bag and grabbing the candy. If you don't think that you're capable of carrying a trusting and lasting relationship, you don't need to start making one.
Yeah, like you said about, get into a relationship with someone who's still actively using.
Oh yeah.
You're doing that person more harm. There's a saying, you're gonna love that person to death.
Mhm.
And not in a good way. Like
Yeah.
you are gonna enable the shit out of that person until they ultimately end up killing themselves because they, when you get into that codependent relationship, it's like, okay, well, I can stick a needle in my arm again, but you love me, so it's gonna be okay. No, it's not okay.
That is a powerful word, by the way. Oh my gosh, the L word. If you're gonna use it, I hope you better mean it, because we had somebody tell us recently, I relapsed. And all of a sudden now he just loves me. Yeah, well, he loves you because you're on drugs, and he is too. And now he's got something over your head to use you. You just gotta understand that being a leech is exactly what you are in that moment. And I hate that. But if I had to put an opinion right now on whether or not you should go into a relationship, and remember, you are the only person that can know if you're ready to do something like that. But if I had to give a time limit on it, if you spent a month out of recovery, no. If you've spent 2 months in recovery, no. If you've got 6 months under your belt and you've got a clear head, you might start thinking about dating. Yeah, sure. I got no problem with that. But in a genuine consensus, what is the consensus between the two of us? And I think we've said that. You want to be in a relationship and you're in recovery, like early recovery? No. The answer is no. You shouldn't. You shouldn't waste your time. And worst of all, you shouldn't waste somebody else's.
Yeah, I think we kind of I don't know how it just kind of worked, because we did every single thing that we were told not to do.
Right.
And, but I think we both knew at that point, not even with a relationship, but I think we both knew in our minds separately that we were done with the stuff that we were doing.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily make us ready for a relationship, but I think, the process of, conversations, the honesty, building that trust, and, just, I can't say taking it slow, because we didn't.
We went to the moon. Yeah. So those are the conversations you need to have. Relationships, not just physical or emotional, romantic relationships with, male, female, but with family too. Are you going to drive home after being 90 days in a rehab and go right back to where you came from and go home to the parents, maybe, who were paying for your meals and keeping you? So now you're going to make those parents deal with you moving back into that house doing that. You probably need some more time in rehab. Rehab is a good thing. Okay. If you hadn't been there and you need to go, call somebody and get your ass driven over there. The two of us are successful members of rehabilitation, rehab for addicts. It's not a bad thing. It's a little scary. I went, at 32 and have never been, and got to meet a lot of guys who just got out of prison. I was definitely new there. But in the long run, I made friends with folks that will be, friends with me for the rest of my life. We got some comments here. Kira said boundaries and communication are the keys to a relationship. I agree. Codependency is just as bad as addiction. That's the best word. I think I've been looking for that for the past hour. Codependency. What a schmuckle situation, right? Great word to come up with my own word. I have
Bamboozled.
Bamboozled, schmuckled relationship. That's what you've got if you're codependent. The two of us are very independent, and that's not a bad thing. The truth is that in order to have a working relationship, especially in recovery, it's teamwork. And trust me, teamwork makes the dream work. If you haven't heard that before, it does work that way. It creates a synergy between us that involves communication, and we take action on a lot of things that keep us, I guess, moving forward and growing just about every day. We may not be going to meetings right now, but we sure are making a lot of videos about sobriety and the things that we are currently going through. And that's part of our experience. Do you have anything, positive to share about our relationship? Maybe that, I don't know, has been great.
Nothing. No, I'm kidding.
Everything has sucked. Yeah, no.
It's terrible. I don't recommend it. It's not. No. No, I mean, our relationship, just the way that we've been able to find this level of communication.
Sure.
And I know that I keep harping on that, but it is what it is. I don't think, had we not had the conversations that we've had from the beginning,
Sure.
we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
Things did move very quickly, but I don't know, something's just different
Sure.
with you. Being able to talk to you about what's going on up here.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because Nathan can read me. Like, I feel like I'm so good at hiding, what's going on in here. And, there was a couple months back, it was almost a year ago now. He had just moved in and, I had gotten squirrely in my head about something. And he's like, well, talk to me. What's wrong? And I'm like, well, there's this thing. And I know it's not true, but like in my head, I feel like it is. And he's like, woman, what are you talking about? Like, just spit it out. And so like, I had to learn, like, it's okay for me to voice what's going on up here.
Sure.
And there's not going to be any judgment. And I think that has just been so special to me because I've always been afraid to voice how I'm feeling and voice, any type of insecurity or something that's, bothering me, whether it's something I've made up in my head or something that's factual.
For sure.
And you never make me feel less than or voicing how I'm feeling. And you're very open to communicating about those things.
Well, and for me, for the two of us, mine has been, communication has always been a problem. Commitment issues, I have that problem. And that comes from a deep-seated place where I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to do any of that stuff because I'm selfish. And I still hadn't. So win for me. But either way, for me, it's been getting all the bad stuff out. I am not a perfect human being, and I'm certainly sarcastic, and I think that I'm right all the time. And 99% of the time, that is true. But for that 1% time, man, I'm competitive. I'm ugly in here because I think I got a dark sense of humor that works with us. But if I were to keep all that stuff in here, especially about the things I've done, that lays into secrets. And secrets don't work. They don't help anybody. So if you're going to open in communication, make sure you share everything that's going on. Hey, I also wanted to tell everybody, thanks for being here. We appreciate all the time. We just hit 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel in like two months, I guess, something like that. So that's pretty exciting. Wanted to share that because that happened this morning, and we crossed that little boundary. Doesn't sound like a lot, but for us, that's a whole lot. That's awesome. It's 20,000 minutes of watch time on a channel, and we've only posted like 15 videos. So that's really cool. Anyway, just a shout out to the success of 100 people that watch. So I wanted to bring up something else with relationships, and that's the ring on the finger. Okay, now we're crossing into boundaries that I don't like being in, right? And that's the marriage situation. We've got a lot of friends who've gotten married out there. Now, what's my opinion of getting married? Well, personally, it's not something that I'm interested in doing. We've had that conversation a few times, and I keep making sure that she knows that I don't want to be married, but that somewhere down the road, maybe that's plausible. No. But it might, you never know. I don't want to speed things up. I want to make sure we communicate and take it at a good pace.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that decision? Or
yeah. I mean, because I don't want to rush into it. Like I've been married and divorced. And if I get married again, there's no divorcing.
Yeah, because the scariest thing about marriage is that like 20 to 30% of marriages really, they last forever. That's scary as hell.
And what's funny, guys, is he'll say that I can be his girlfriend forever. Just married.
I don't know. Maybe that's hearsay.
Okay. Hearsay.
So, another good tip: tell your family. Okay, don't keep this in the shadows. If you are jumping into a relationship and you've got to keep that a secret, then there's something wrong. Okay, we jumped in and had that exact thing happen. We kept it a secret for a little bit. I did, yeah, and because I thought I had to, being in a rehab, I didn't want to lose that structure that I thought I needed when I clearly wasn't following
You meant
rules.
just in general.
Yeah, in general, if that's
Yeah, we did.
yeah, we kept it secret for a little bit, and because we thought we had to, and then later, when we officially became public, and I got kicked out of this place that I was staying in. We decided in the same day with the folks that told us not to be in a relationship that we were going to be face-to-face value. Corey and Nason, we went to a meeting, and we went to the meeting where all of these folks were and made sure that they knew this was the real deal. We weren't backing out of anything. We weren't saying we're going to go into this just to get steady and then, hightail it down the road. We didn't do that. We got together and we decided we were going to try this thing out. And as it turns out, when we put 100% into one thing, we did it in a second and a third. And now that relationship is moving forward. And I really think that covers like most of everything that I would do, that we would do to keep a relationship moving. It's just so important. I mean, look at all these folks putting needles back in their arms because Sally over here decided to go hunk on somebody else that was in a different rehab. What the name? In a 12-step program, we call that 13th step, y'all. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that is, you can Urban Dictionary or Google the shit out of that. Yeah.
But the thing that I love about our relationship is, we have so much fun. We're constantly going on adventures, like just last weekend, we were in the house and, I guess he could tell I was cooped up. Like I'd scrubbed the whole house and made breakfast and did all this crazy stuff. And all of a sudden he's like, okay, lady, put your shoes on. We're going outside. He's like, you don't need to be stuck in the house anymore. And then we're like, hey, let's go to Alabama this weekend and go look at a waterfall or let's go camping in the Smokies when it's 20 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. It's fun. There's plenty of times where we sit on the couch and watch Netflix and do absolutely nothing. And that's fine too. I love doing everything and nothing
at the same time. Yeah. And that's because we're comfortable, in here. If you're not comfortable around the person you're with, it just doesn't work. The two of us are so goofy and so sick-minded that we say and do things. We have shop talk at the house, and we say these things that are just off the wall nuts. And I haven't had anybody in my lifetime that is okay with that.
I always go for the shock factor, like saying things that I'm waiting for him to be like, and I get them, okay. And it's phenomenal.
She sends me these crazy YouTube videos while I'm at work, and I'm like, what? Some guy dancing with pizza and pulling. It looks like puppetry. Oh, it's the weirdest thing. Kira says, I think having fun is super important to recovery in relationships. Make sure to have 51% fun in your day. Build that dopamine. Yes. Yeah, for sure. One thing I could tell you that we did together, an adventure that I would never take back. We went skydiving. It was, months after being in the apartment together, we decided to do something that was just off the wall. Corey had a friend who had mentioned it to her, and she mentioned it to me. I was like, hell yeah, let's go skydiving. The high that we got, and from jumping out of that plane and coming down, was the dopamine that Kira mentioned. It was so crazy that we got in the car and just died.
I had to fight it and drive home, and he's in the passenger seat just.
Oh my gosh.
And then my girlfriend's in the back seat passed out. Yeah. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
our adrenaline had hit such a high. I'd never felt anything like that before. It was better than I had ever felt drinking the most expensive glass of Jack Daniels. I think those are the kinds of experiences you can look forward to when you have that communication and when you have that person that you're genuinely interested in listening, talking, doing things with. And that's where we're at. We've made a couple plans here and there to do some things in the future. We've got, positive emotions going on in this household. I've got a cat that's fatter than she's ever been because we're comfortable. So that means she's comfortable too.
Yeah.
Right. Those are positive things. And if you're in recovery / a relationship, you can look forward to those things if you follow those steps of communication and being genuine, rather than doing the opposite, which will lead you to certain doom. Anyway.
I think, talking about the good things and the bad things is gonna, be the thing that takes your relationship to that next level,
Sure.
To not only be able to sit there and talk about, oh, I've had such a good day and, blah, 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 one thing that we always do, and I just think it's amazing, is, as soon as I walk in the door from work, Nasa gets off before I do. So, as soon as I walk in the door, we immediately talk about our day. Like, hey, how was your day? Tell me about it. And it's that even if it's just 5 minutes of being completely focused on each other and, talking about how the day went, I think
Sure.
that's important.
We eat meals at the table together, not all the time, but sometimes, sometimes just to take a 5-minute break and say, hey, love you, and you're a really great cook, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think, well, that's where we're at. I don't have anything else to share. I think that we've covered this topic in extreme. Here's Lana. Want to meet the cat? Yeah, she's cute.
Camera shy.
Camera shy, but she'll knock everything over while you're on camera. Not when you're off camera. I don't know. Anyway,
Look at her. She's like,
she's staring.
I'm gonna do it.
Well, listen here. Next couple weeks, we're going to try to have some more recovery stories. We had a bunch that are planned out, but scheduling comes into play, and some people make it, some people don't.
Life happens.
Yeah, life happens. Tomorrow, we're going to be in Alabama. Be looking for not a streamed video, but a video to come out probably tomorrow evening at some time. And that's, I guess, what we're looking for. The topics in the next couple weeks are going to cover like suicidal thoughts, finding your happy place. Those are two that I was thinking of would be really good to cover with the two of us. And we can't
And
wait.
if you guys
to be back
have
here.
suggestions, let us know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Please.
If you've got a suggestion, leave it in the comment section. Put it in a comment on the actual YouTube channel. If you found us on Facebook, friend us. We'll friend you back. And we just want as many ideas as possible. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for being here. We enjoy you. We love you. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.